Hey everybody, I'm Alan with Bricks and Blocks Gaming, and in this battle video for the game of Frostgrave, I'll be playing the Pyramid of Decay scenario from the Ravages of Time supplement, which can be found as part of the Frostgrave Folio book, and I'll link my review of the Ravages of Time supplement in the details once it's released. This is the 16th battle overall for my Frostgrave 2nd edition campaign, but you can watch this video independently from the other battles. The Pyramid of Decay scenario is supposed to be part 1 of a 3-part mini-campaign, but I'll just be playing the one battle. Usually, there's an interesting time warping mechanic that allows your wizard to gain 20 temporary levels after each of the first and second scenarios, and then face off in a boss battle for the third scenario. But I just wanted to showcase the unique way you have to escape with your treasure in this battle. And facing off today will be Velius and Celia the Summoners against King Arthur and Sir Bedivere the Witches. I'll show you how I set up my table, discuss the special rules for this scenario, deploy my warbands, then start the battle. So now let's get to the bricks and blocks of the Pyramid of Decay scenario for Frostgrave. The Pyramid of Decay takes place inside a decaying pyramid, and the setup calls for an interior setup with broken furniture and other things you'd find indoors, as well as piles of rubble depicting parts of the ceiling that have caved in. After the wizards enter into this pyramid, the doors vanish behind them, trapping them inside, and the only way out is through this casket in the middle of the board. A figure has to break into that with a fight roll against a target number of 12, and once it's been broken into, any figure can jump into that casket and they're essentially teleported out of this scenario. Being inside a dark pyramid, line of sight is reduced to 12 inches for this entire scenario, and at the end of each round, a Ghoul appears at a random table edge. I know this kind of looks like my Nullman from my last battle, but I don't really have any good Lego figures to represent ghouls, so we're going with orcs instead. And the first time each treasure token is touched, a roll will be made, and on a 12 plus, another ghoul will appear, this time taking the place of the treasure token. But only a maximum of 2 tokens can be swapped out for ghouls like this. And I'll still be using the random encounters option when tokens are actually picked up. And because there might be less treasure, and because all figures are trying to get to the center of the board, I've decided to use the first edition's treasure setup rules by placing 6 treasure tokens. So we have 1 down there, 1 in that basket there, 1 there by that lit up torch there. There's 1 over here by this statue, 1 over here, and then the last one is right here by that rubble. And lastly, the rules for traps found in the Into the Breeding Pit supplement are used in this scenario. And what that does is whenever a 1 is rolled for initiative, the player that rolled that can select 1 figure on the board to have a trap trigger on them, and I'll explain that when and if that happens. And since there's a low likelihood of that happening, at least more than once in this scenario, I've decided to use the optional rule of having trapped treasure tokens. So whenever I roll for random encounters, if a 1 gets rolled, a trap will be sprung on the figure that picks it up. I rolled my out-of-game spells off camera, and both King Arthur and Sir Bedivere failed their roll for familiar, but Arthur did succeed in raising a zombie, so their Black Knight will start on the board with them. And for the summoners, Celia finally successfully cast Animal Companion to get their bear, so they're swapping out a thug for him. So finally, after about 8 battles into this campaign, they have their bear. And then Velius successfully cast Reveal Secret, but Celia failed her roll. So the Knights of the Round Table have set up over here on this side. So they've got Tim the Enchanter with his Ring of Teleportation, the Black Beast of Arg, the bear. Here they have Brave Sir Robin, the Treasure Hunter, with his Minstrel, the Bard. And over here we have Sir Bedivere, the Apprentice. He's carrying a Wand of Light which will allow him to make 2 rolls to cast a spell and choose whichever of the 2 rolls he wants. He can use that once per game. Sir Galahad, the Man-at-Arms, King Arthur back there with his Scroll of Strike Dead, his zombie, the Black Knight, and his trusted squire, Patsy the Thief. And over here we have Sir Lancelot the Barbarian with a 2-handed sword of Fight +1 and the Rabbit of Carbonog the Snow Leopard. And on the other side of the table, Velius' warband is set up. They have their Thief, their Templar, and then there's Celia the Apprentice. She's carrying a Wand of Power with 1 charge, and she's wearing Gloves of Casting. Next to her is her bear that she finally brought along. They've got an infantryman and their marksman who now has a crossbow of +1 shoot. And over here we have Velius' bear, his 2 rangers, and Velius is carrying a staff of +1 fight and wearing Gloves of Casting and a Ring of Power. Initiative for the first round goes to King Arthur. To start out the game, King Arthur is going to activate with the Black Knight and with Patsy. Patsy will start out by double moving into contact with this treasure token. And since Patsy is touching that treasure token, we'll see if it becomes a ghoul on a 12+, which it does not. The Black Knight is going to double move 6 inches right up to here. And then King Arthur is going to attempt Possess on Sir Lancelot the Brave. Casting on a 10, failure by 8, he will take 1 point of damage for failure. And failing to possess Sir Lancelot, King Arthur will just move up here 6 inches on his single move, and then we'll move down here to Velius. And he is going to activate with the ranger right next to him. He will start out by moving 6 inches right over here, and he is going to attempt Summon Demon using his Gloves of Casting. That gives him a +5, he needs an 8, and he gets a 15. And he'll go ahead and use the 1 charge from his Ring of Power plus 5 health to succeed by 13, giving him a major Shadow Warrior that will appear right in front of him there. And then this ranger that activated with Velius is going to run behind this pillar over here. 7 inches will get him right there, and from there he is going to fire an arrow over here at Patsy. There is 1 piece of intervening terrain, and he moved. The modifiers give Patsy a +3 against +2 shoot, and that is a 19 to a 19, so that a tie misses on a shooting attack. Moving to the apprentice phase, Sir Bedivere is now going to attempt Possess on Sir Lancelot, needing a 10 with a -2, and he fails by 11, taking 2 points of damage. And with another failed attempt for the Knights of the Round Table to possess Sir Lancelot, Bedivere will just run up here on a single move. For Celia's turn, she is going to activate with this Thief, this Templar, and her new Polar Bear. She'll start with having the Thief and the Polar Bear both double move down here. Technically the Thief moved first, and then the Polar Bear would double move after him. And I guess I should have rolled to see if that treasure turned into a ghoul before I moved the Polar Bear, but let's see what it is. And there is no ghoul, needing a 12+. And then the Templar is going to double move 7.5 inches to right here. Then Celia is going to single move 6 inches right behind this rubble. And then she's going to cast Leap on the Templar she just knocked over. Casting on a 7 with a -2, that is successful. She can leap him up to 10 inches, which will put him right over here next to this treasure token. And we'll see if this treasure turns into a ghoul on a 12+, which that one does not. Now to the soldier phase, they'll start out with having Tim the Enchanter run right up here, 7 inches next to this treasure. And from right there, he is going to fire an arrow right down here at the Polar Bear. Before that attack, let's see if that treasure becomes a ghoul, and it does not. He moved, so the bear's a +5 against +2 shoot, and the bear defends. Next, the Black Beast of Arg is going to run around here, 9 inches to right there. And then Brave Sir Robin and his minstrel will both move this way, The minstrel will end up right here on his double move, and then Sir Robin can get a little further since he's a fast-moving treasure hunter. Then Sir Galahad is going to run over here. He'll have to kind of climb over the Black Knight, so he can't move his full 9 inches, but can get to right there. And then Sir Lancelot and the Rabbit of Carbonog will both move this way, right up here. The rabbit won't move its full movement and wants to stay close to Sir Lancelot so that they can potentially team up on something. To Velius' soldiers, this infantryman and this marksman will both run through here. The marksman can double move to right there where he's potentially got a line of sight through here next turn, and the infantryman can get a little further ahead. Velius' bear is then going to run through here, double moving 9 inches to right there, and this ranger is going to do a single move over here, and from right there he can see over this intervening terrain at Sir Lancelot and take a shot. Hasty shot in the terrain give Lancelot a +6 against +2 shoot, and that is a miss. And the last soldier to move is this Greater Shadow Warrior that appeared, and it can double move over here into contact with this treasure. It can't quite get there on a single move. And we'll see if this treasure finally becomes a ghoul on a 12+, and that one does not. At the end of the turn, a ghoul appears at a random table edge, and I rolled for it to show up here on King Arthur's turn. And I'll point out that this happens at the end of the turn, not during the creature phase, so the creature phase has already happened, so it will not activate until next creature phase. Initiative for the next round goes to Velius this time. Velius will start out this turn by activating with both of these rangers. This one around the corner is just barely within line of sight and 3 inches, and Velius is going to cast Heal on himself. Casting on an 11, and that is successful. He returns to full health. After that, he will run 6 inches over here behind his bear, and then this ranger here is going to move up here, and from right there he can barely see the 12-inch maximum over here to Sir Galahad, and he'll take a shot. A hasty shot with no intervening terrain makes Galahad a +4 against +2 shoot, and the shot is successful with a 19 against 12 armor, dealing 7 points of damage. Then their other ranger is going to move 7 inches over here into contact with this treasure, and we'll see if this final treasure token ends up being a ghoul. On a 12+, and we finally have one ghoul. So the treasure token goes away and it is replaced with a ghoul. The ranger does have 1 action left, but he's going to choose to just wait there for now and see if this bear can come in and help him out. King Arthur will then activate with Sir Galahad and the Black Knight. He'll have them both move over this way. Galahad would technically move first, and he'll come right over here into contact with that treasure token so the Shadow Warrior can't pick it up. And then the Black Knight can only double move 6 inches to right there. And then King Arthur is going to once again attempt to possess the Black Beast of Arg. Will he succeed with a 10? Yes, he finally does. And then King Arthur is going to run over here 6 inches against the side of that wall. And moving to the apprentice phase, I'd forgotten that Celia has a smashed leg which reduces her movement down to 4. So since I moved her the full distance last turn, I'll move her just 2 inches this turn. And from right there, she will attempt Summon Demon. She'll activate her Gloves of Casting for a +5, and she needs an 8 to cast this. So she gets a 10 total, which bumps up to the minimum of 14. And actually she has a -2 for being an apprentice, so she barely cast that on an 8, but that's still bumped up to a 14. So this minor Shadow Warrior appears right in front of her. And now moving over to Sir Bedivere's turn, I didn't really think this over too well, and all of these figures are pretty clumped up over here. So Bedivere is going to run over here next to the Black Beast of Arg, And from there, he is going to toss a grenade right down this line right here where he can potentially hit all 4 of these figures. He's going to use his Wand of Light, which lets him make 2 rolls and choose the best one for the attempt. And either one would have been successful, needing just a 9 with a -2. And just to show this, a 3-inch radius will hit all 4 of these figures. So they'll target first the Thief, then the Bear, then the Shadow Warrior, and then Celia. And this is a hasty shot, so all of Velius' team will get a +1. So the Thief is a +2 against +3, and he defends that. The Bear is, he's a large creature, so he gets a -2, so he's only a +3 against +3. And that hits him with an 18 against 12 armor, dealing 6 points of damage. Then against the Shadow Warrior, he has a +4 against +3. And that is a 12, dealing 1 damage since he has 11 armor. And against Celia, she will be a +4 also against +3. And she gets hit with a 19 against 10 armor, taking 9 points of damage. Well, that was a very effective grenade. And now moving to Velius' soldier phase, they'll have this Bear that just took some shrapnel run up here and move into combat with the Black Beast of Arg. And then they'll have this Thief pick up this treasure token. We'll see if a monster shows up on a 10+, and nothing shows up. Then he'll carry his treasure 3.5 inches over here on his single movement. And then they'll have this Cyclops Templar here pick up this treasure token, with a monster spawning on a 10+, and again, nothing. The Cyclops will then lumber his way a massive 2.5 inches over to here with his treasure token. Then they'll have this minor Shadow Warrior just come right over here. He'll come behind this Thief to right there so that enemies can't get through to come after these treasure carriers. Then they'll have the Infantryman come over here into contact with the casket, and he is going to attempt to break that open. So this is a fight roll against a target number of 12. So since it's not an actual attack, he does not apply his +2 damage. He has a +3. So a 15 against 12, that is cracked open. So by busting the lid off of this casket, any figure can just simply move into it to move off the board. They don't have to commit any actions to actually jump into it. And then they're going to have their marksman fire a shot right over here into Brave Sir Robin, and there is 1 piece of intervening terrain. So that puts Robin at a +4 against +3 shoot, because that's a magical crossbow, and the crossbow wins with a 16 and +2 damage against 12 armor. That deals 6 points of damage to Brave Sir Robin, putting him down to 6, and then the marksman is going to just stay where he is and reload his crossbow. Then they're going to have this Bear move into combat with this Ghoul and attack with the support of the Ranger. So the Bear is a +6 against +2, and it wins with a 17 and +2 damage, dealing 9 damage to the 10 armored Ghoul, putting him down to 1 health. But being undead, the Ghoul is not wounded, and then they will have their Greater Shadow Warrior kind of push his way through these barrels and attack Sir Galahad. So this is a +5 against +3, and that is a tie, 12-12. They both have 12 armor, but the Shadow Warrior deals +2 damage because of the strong trait, so 2 damage to Galahad. So Galahad is down to 3 health and is wounded, and now to the Knights of the Round Table. They're going to have the Rabbit of Carbonog run around here and engage the Shadow Warrior from behind, but not attack, and then they'll have Brave Sir Lancelot come over and attack with double support. So that makes the Barbarian +8 against +5, but he loses. That's a 21 with +2 damage. And I guess Sir Lancelot has a sort of +1 fight, but that wouldn't have helped in that roll. The Shadow Warrior is going to push him out of combat, and Lancelot is down to just 1 health point remaining. And then we'll go over here to Patsy, who will pick up this treasure token. See if a monster spawns on a 10+. Nope. And then he will carry that treasure over here by his king. And then here we are going to have Brave Sir Robin's Minstrel charge in here first into contact with this infantryman, and then Brave Sir Robin on 7 inches can just barely get into contact, and he will attack with support. So Robin is a +5 against +3, and he wins with a 13 against 11 armor, dealing 2 points of damage. And then Tim the Enchanter is going to pick up this treasure token under him. A monster appears on a 10+, and one shows up. And I rolled that an armored skeleton shows up right here on this table edge. And then we will have Tim the Enchanter take this treasure token and move over to here, 3.5 inches. And lastly, for the soldier phase, they will have the Black Beast of Arg attack that polar bear. Being possessed, the beast is now a +6 against +4, and it loses with a 7 to an 8. The polar bear does not, however, get past the armor of the Black Beast, but it will choose to push it out of combat, and then we will go to the creature phase, starting with this ghoul up here. It says that ghouls, if they have to make a random move, will make a straight line towards the casket. That would mean he'd just kind of run into the wall and then never actually climb over the wall. So instead, I'm just going to have them have that be their target point. So it will move 6 inches this way, and then from there it can see Patsy, so it will move 3 more inches this way. And then we'll jump over here to this ghoul, and it will end up attacking the ranger because the ranger has less health. With support, the ranger is a +4 against +2, and that is a tie, 16 to 16. So the ranger takes out that ghoul, but it ends up dealing 5 points of damage to him. And then the last uncontrolled enemy is this armored skeleton. It can move 6 inches towards this Templar, which will put it not quite into combat, so it does have to use its second action to move into combat. And at the end of the round, I rolled for a ghoul to show up over here on this table edge. Initiative for the next round goes to Velius. So Velius is going to start out by activating with this ranger in front of him and this bear that's just within 3 inches. And he'll start with having the bear run over here and attack Sir Galahad. No support is given because there's 2 figures from each warband. The bear is a +4 and the wounded Galahad is a +1. And the bear wins with an 18 and +2 damage. The Knight of the Round Table only had 3 health remaining, so he goes down. And next, this ranger is going to take a shot at Sir Lancelot, who is not in combat. There is 1 piece of intervening terrain, which is the Rabbit of Carbonog. Being wounded, having intervening terrain, and having his sword of +1 fight gives Lancelot +4 to the +2 shoot. And the shoot wins. It's an 18 to a 20, dealing 10 points of damage to the barbarian. Another knight goes down. And then that archer, the ranger, is going to run this way, 7 inches into here, and then move into combat with the bard. Brave Sir Robin isn't able to snap into combat because he's already in combat. And now for Velius. He is going to move over here by this statue, where he is now 6 inches from his apprentice, and he is going to cast Heal on her. Casting on an 11, which he gets. So Celia is back up to 11 health, and then over to King Arthur. He is going to activate with Patsy here. He wants to lob a grenade maybe over here by Velius or by these guys, but this ghoul is going to start assaulting his treasure carriers here, so he's going to launch a grenade right here. Casting on a 9, which is successful. So that's a +3 attack against the ghouls +2, and that hits with an 18, dealing 8 points of damage. Arthur will then run right over here, and Patsy, on a 5 1/4 inch double move, can move over here into contact with the casket, hop in, and warp himself off the board with his treasure. Over to Celia's turn. She is going to cast Leap on this wounded Templar. On a 7, a failure by 5 because she has a -2. She's going to use her Wand of Power and 4 life to empower that for a total of 5 to make that work. So that will lift this Cyclops out of combat over here 5 inches. He only goes 5 because he is carrying treasure, so he can't go the full 10. And then Celia will hobble 4 inches over this way. Then to Sir Bedivere, he is going to activate with the Black Beast of Carbonog and Tim the Enchanter. And he'll start with having Tim fire an arrow at that ghoul. That's a +2 against +2, and the ghoul defends. Tim will then take his treasure 3.5 inches right around here next to his king. And then Sir Bedivere will move right over here by this corner. And from right there, he can see next to this Shadow Warrior right here, where he will attempt a grenade on a 9 with a -2, which is successful. So with it landing right here, it'll be a clear shot at the Shadow Warrior and the Cyclops, and the Thief will have light cover. The Shadow Warrior is a +3 against +3, and no damage is dealt there. And then for the Templar, being wounded and encumbered, he's a +1 against +3, and he defends that. And then the Thief is a +1 against +3, not being encumbered because he's just got a dagger, but he easily defends that, so no damage from that grenade. So that was a good idea, but it didn't pay off. And then the Black Beast of Arg is going to kind of move over here to get into combat with the bear, and then it will attack. So that's a +6 against +4, and the Black Beast of Arg wins with a total of 17 and +2 damage against 12 armor. The polar bear is now wounded with just 1 health left, and the Black Beast will actually push itself out of combat 1 inch so that it can potentially stop any figures trying to get this way. Moving to the soldier phase for Velius' turn, the Major Shadow Warrior will attack the Rabbit of Carbonog. That's a +5 against +3, and the rabbit wins with a critical hit. So with the +5 damage from the critical hit, that is a 28 against 12 armor, dealing 16 damage and taking out the Greater Shadow Warrior. Next, this marksman is going to run 5 inches over here, and then make a hasty crossbow shot at the rabbit. The rabbit is bumped up to a +4 against +3 shoot, and it defends that crossbow bolt. So the marksman's bow is left unloaded, and then the ranger is going to take a wide open shot with a +2 against +3, and with an 11 that deals 1 point of damage to the rabbit. And after not doing much to the rabbit, the ranger will choose to just stand his ground there. Then over here into the middle, this infantryman is going to attack the minstrel. No support bonuses are given because it's a 2-on-2 situation. Infantryman is a +3 against +2, and he wins with an 11 and +2 damage against 11 armor. So that deals 2 damage. And then this thief carrying this treasure can double move 5¼ inches, which is just enough to get him into contact with that casket and warp him off the table. The Cyclops can't go this turn because he was leapt. This polar bear will just simply move into combat with the Black Beast to tie him up again, and then this Shadow Warrior will move into combat with Sir Bedivere to tie him up in combat. For the Knights of the Round Table, they will have the Rabbit of Carbonog run over here and get into combat with this Ranger and attack. This is a +3 against +2, and the Rabbit wins with a 21, dealing 10 points of damage. So the Ranger is reduced to 1 health, and then the Black Knight will just move into combat with the bear to tie it up. Then into the middle of the board, this Minstrel is going to attack the Ranger. This is a +2 against +2, and the Velius' Ranger wins with a 11. So that doesn't get past the Minstrel's armor, and they'll just choose to stay in combat. And now Sir Robin will attack the Infantryman. This is a +3 against +3, and a critical hit by brave Sir Robin. Dealing 17 damage to the Infantryman, takes him down, and with Robin freed up, he is going to come over here and move into combat with this Cyclops to try to take his treasure from him. Moving to the creature phase, this ghoul over here, the closest figure is King Arthur, so he will move into combat here and attack. The ghoul is a +2 against +5 for King Arthur, and Arthur crushes it with a 21 and +2 damage with his two-handed sword. So that ghoul is taken off the board, and then over here, this armored skeleton can reach the Cyclops that just leapt away from him and attack, and now he is supported by Sir Robin. So the Templar is just a +1, being encumbered and wounded, against +4 for the supported skeleton. But the Templar gets a 14 with +2 damage. So that armored skeleton crumbles into a pile of bones. And then lastly, they have this ghoul over here. He can see Velius, so he will move that way. He has to climb up over this, so that will reduce his total movement. And he can get to right there on his double move. And at the end of the turn, another ghoul enters the board. He rolled to show up on this side. And that ends what turned out to be a very bloody turn here. Initiative for the next round goes to King Arthur this time. So King Arthur will start out by activating with Tim the Enchanter. And he's going to have Tim head straight over to the casket on his double move and warp off the table. And with their second treasure secured, he will now run 6 inches over here. And from right there, he can see the bear that's in combat, and he is going to attempt the Strike Dead spell on the bear. So he casts this on a whopping 20, but does have a scroll of this spell in case he fails. At 5, he is going to use that scroll, which bumps that up to a minimum casting number of 14. And successfully casting that spell causes the caster 1 point of damage. And now the bear gets a chance to resist this. He's got a +3 will and gets a 16, so he resists that. Next, Velius will attempt Summon Demon again since his Greater Shadow Warrior got destroyed. Casting on an 8. With a 19, he succeeds by 11. He will empower that for 2 and get another Greater Shadow Warrior. So he summons this creature back from where it was banished just a little bit ago, and then Velius is going to move in here to this room. And he will actually move into combat with this minstrel to add support to his ranger. Sir Bedivere now will activate with the Black Beast of Arg, and he'll start with having the beast attack the polar bear. The possessed beast is a +6 against +2, and that is a 24 with +2 damage, which easily takes down that polar bear, and then the Black Beast of Arg will just move into combat to support Sir Bedivere, who will attack with his two-handed sword. The apprentice has a +5 against +3 for this attack, and he wins with a 17 and +2 damage. So that deals 8 damage, putting the Minor Shadow Warrior down to 3 health and wounded. Bedivere will just choose to stay in combat for now to support the next turn's attack there. And then Celia is going to activate with this new Greater Shadow Warrior, and she'll send him right into combat with Brave Sir Robin to attack with support. So that's a +7 against +3, and Sir Robin wins with a 20 against 12 armor, dealing 8 points of damage. So Robin will push the foul beast out of combat, and then Celia is going to attempt to leap the Cyclops once again on a 7 with a -2, and she succeeds that time. So that will leap him over Sir Robin right in here into contact with this casket, but I don't think that he can be leapt into it. I think he just has to be leapt right there, and so the next time he activates, if he's free to move, he can move into that. And then Celia is going to hobble her way through here, kind of ending up on this pile of rubble here with her measly 4-inch move. To the soldier phase, Brave Sir Robin, feeling like a boss, is going to come in here right next to the Cyclops and attack him. +3 against just +1, and that is an 18 to an 18, so they both win. So that is 6 damage to the Templar, which takes him down, and 9 damage to Brave Sir Robin, who is down to 6 health, so he goes down as well. Then over towards the back of the board, the Rabbit of Carbonog is going to try to finish off that Ranger. The Wounded Ranger is a +0 against +3, and the Rabbit wins but doesn't deal damage. The Rabbit will choose to stay in combat to keep the Ranger tied up, and then the Black Knight is going to just do nothing because he doesn't really stand much of a chance against that bear, which brings us now to Velius' soldier phase. Let me clear up this a little bit. We're going to have the Ranger over here attack with the support of his wizard. The Bard is a +2 against +4, and the Ranger wins with a 15, dealing 4 points of damage. So the Minstrel is down to 6 health. The Ranger would kind of like to push out of combat, but can't push out because there's a wall there. So next, this Marksman is going to activate, and he will come over here and use his second action to reload his crossbow. To the back of the board, this Wounded Ranger will choose to do nothing, and then this bear is going to try to take out the Black Knight. So that's a +4 against +1, and the bear wins with a 20 total and +2 damage, which deals more than just a flesh wound to that Black Knight, and then the bear is going to turn and get into combat with King Arthur. Moving to the creature phase, this ghoul over here can see the bear, so it will move 9 inches on a double move over to here. And then to the ghoul on the other side of the table, it can move 6 inches towards Celia over here. And it'll get right there, and then Celia and the Marksman will choose to snap into combat. And the ghoul will attack Celia because she has less health. With support, Celia is a +5 against +2. I've had a critical hit. So that ghoul takes a big bite out of Celia and ends the turn. And this turn, a ghoul is showing up right here on this table edge. Initiative for the next round goes to King Arthur. And the King of Camelot back here will just take a swing at that bear. So he's a +5 against +4, and he wins with a 24 and +2 damage. So that deals 14 damage, exactly enough to take down the full health bear. And then King Arthur will come over here into contact with this treasure. Somebody's already been in contact with that, so that has no chance of becoming a ghoul. In here to this room, Velius is going to activate with his Ranger, and he will have his Ranger start out by attacking with support with a +4 against +2, and the Minstrel wins with an 18. 7 damage is just enough to send this Ranger into those cobwebs and take him out, and now Velius will attack. Velius is a +6 against +2, and he gets an 18 to a 19 and loses. With Velius' staff, he takes 8 points of damage, putting him down to 7, and the Minstrel will stay in combat. Then over here, Sir Bedivere will activate with the Black Beast, who will attack the Shadow Warrior. The Wounded Shadow Warrior is a +1 against +8. So that's a 9, but he wins with a 14. With the Beast's boosted armor from Possess, he only takes 1 point of damage, and the Shadow Warrior will choose to stay in combat, and now Bedivere will attack. Bedivere's a +5 against +1, and the Shadow Warrior wins with an 18. That deals 8 damage to Bedivere, putting him down to 6, and again the Shadow Warrior will stay in combat. Then to the creature phase, down here, the Rabbit will attack the Wounded Ranger again with its +3 against +0, and it wins that time, but still does no damage, and it will stay in combat. To Velius' remaining soldiers, the Greater Shadow Warrior will come around here and attack this ghoul with support. That's a +7 against +2, and a 9 to 9, and no damage there. And I guess the Shadow Warrior does deal 1 damage to the ghoul because of the strong trait, and now the Marksman will attempt an attack. This is a +4 against +2, and hey, finally they get a good attack roll here with a 23. So this ghoul is defeated, and then the Marksman is going to come right over here behind Velius next to this treasure token. Velius's Ranger and this Shadow Warrior here will choose to just sit in combat. Then we'll go to the creature phase. We'll start with this one. It can't see anybody here, so it will move 6 inches up to here, and then it can see this combat over here, and we'll move 3 inches that direction. And then up here, this ghoul here, the closest figure it can see is King Arthur, so it will move 8 inches on a double move into combat. And I rolled for this turn's ghoul to show up once again on this side of the board. Rolling initiative, and it goes to King Arthur again. To start out this turn, King Arthur will once again make an attack, this time against this ghoul here. So that's a +5 against +2, and he destroys another ghoul. So dealing 16 points of damage there. King Arthur will just stay there so he can maybe pick up that treasure token next turn. In the middle of the table here, Velius is going to activate with this marksman, and he is going to start out by just attacking the minstrel again. +6 against +2, and he wins that time 22-19. With his staff against light armor, he deals 10 points of damage, taking down the minstrel. Then he is done. He is going to hop in here. And then the marksman is going to pick up this treasure with his first action and then move into the casket with his second action. To the apprentice phase, Sir Bedivere will once again activate with the Black Beast of Arg, who will again attack that Shadow Warrior. +8 against +1. And takes down that wounded Shadow Warrior this time. So after eating that Shadow Warrior, the Black Beast of Arg is going to move over here into this room, just moving these bodies out of the way. And then Sir Bedivere is going to run over here and toss a grenade at that Shadow Warrior. Casting on a 9, failure by 6, taking 1 point of damage, putting him down to 5. To the soldier phase, the last remaining soldier for the Knights of the Round Table is the Rabbit, who will try once again to finish off the Ranger. +3 against +1. That is an 11, so still does not defeat him. And then to Velius's soldiers, they'll have the Greater Shadow Warrior move over here into combat with the Black Beast and see what happens. He's attacking with a +5 against +6. And finally, they get a critical hit. That deals 20 damage to the Black Beast of Arg, but it's kind of a too little too late here. And their Ranger's going to choose to do nothing back there. And actually at this point, he doesn't really have much to lose, so the Ranger's just going to go ahead and attack. +1 against +3, and the Rabbit finally finishes him off. So the Ranger goes down, and then moving to the creature phase, the two ghouls over here. This one here can move. Technically the beast shouldn't be there, so it can move through here unhindered, double moving into combat with the Greater Shadow Warrior. And then the other ghoul that appeared here will move 9 inches, double moving right up to here. And this turn's ghoul shows up on the left side of the table over here. And normally I might call the game at this point, but this scenario calls for the game not to end until all of the figures have escaped through the middle. So I'm just going to see if these wizards are able to escape with that treasure back there. Initiative goes to Velius's team. So to start out, King Arthur is going to finally pick up that treasure token up there. See if a monster spawns on a 10+, which it does. So for the first time ever in one of my games, I rolled for a snow troll to appear. So I guess this is kind of fitting with the orcs that I'm using for my ghouls. So it's going to show up right down there, and we'll see if it ends up making an impact on this game. Then Arthur is going to take this treasure he picked up and run 6 inches over to here. Sir Bedivere is then going to move right here and attempt to cast another Black Knight on a 12 with a -1, and he gets it. And just to make this a little less cluttered, I'm going to move the Black Beast of Arg off the table. And then this Black Knight, who in fact did just suffer a flesh wound apparently, will show up in front of him to intercept this ghoul. Next up is Velius' soldier phase, so the Shadow Warrior will attack that ghoul. +5 against +2, and it destroys that ghoul with a 21 and +2 damage. So the ghoul is destroyed. Now it doesn't say that you can't just simply stand on top of the casket, but I'm guessing that if you actually go into it, you would be moved off the table. So this thing wants to get behind Bedivere, but will come here, so it's engaged with both of these two figures. And next would be the Rabbit of Carbonog's turn, and it will double move over here into combat with the Shadow Warrior, and then we'll go to the creatures. Taking a look at this snow troll over here, since it's so tall, it can actually see over the top of this terrain into what's going on down there, so both it and this ghoul will move that direction. And snow trolls only have a movement of 4, so it has to climb over this, and can only get to about right there on its double move. The ghoul here can run around this way, right here on 9 inches. And then this ghoul up front can move 6 inches into combat with the Black Knight and attack. The Knight's a +1 against +2, and it's a tie with 11, dealing 1 point of damage to the ghoul, but none to the Black Knight. The Black Knight will choose to push this ghoul out of combat. And I rolled for the next ghoul to show up right here on this table edge. Initiative goes to King Arthur this time. And I realized that I forgot to have Arthur move at half movement when he ran over here with his treasure, so I'll take it out of his movement this turn, so he can only move 1.5 inches this turn to right there. And then we'll go to Sir Bedivere, who will activate with the Rabbit of Carbonog and have it attack this Greater Shadow Warrior with double support. So the Rabbit is boosted to +7 against +5, and it wins with a 24. It was already down to 7 health thanks to an attack by Brave Sir Robin while he was still alive. And then the rabbit is going to run over here onto this side of Arthur to attract that ghoul away from him. And then Sir Bedivere is just going to step into the casket to get off the table. The Black Knight's going to choose to do nothing. Then this snow troll is going to get into combat with the rabbit on a double move. Then we'll have this ghoul move into combat and attack with support. So the ghoul is a +4 against +3, and it wins with a 16, dealing 6 points of damage. So the rabbit is reduced to 3 health and is wounded. Then over here, I'll go ahead and move this ghoul up 9 inches on its double move. And then this one here will move into combat with the Black Knight and attack. +1 against +2, and the Black Knight wins with a 15, dealing 3 more points of damage, and will push him out of combat. And actually that's 5 more points of damage, putting it down to 4 health. A ghoul shows up over here on this side of the table this time, and I won't bother rolling initiative because there are none of Velius' forces left. King Arthur will just go ahead and activate with the Rabbit of Carbonog. Arthur is going to run off over to the casket and escape. And then the rabbit is just going to attack the snow troll just for fun. The supported snow troll is a +6 against +1 for the wounded rabbit. And the rabbit wins with a 15. It deals 1 point of damage and will just stay in combat. The Black Knight will run off the table, and we'll just go ahead and roll out this combat to see what happens. Again, the snow troll is a +6 against +1, and it wins that time with a 15. Its strong trait deals +2 damage, so 7 damage to the wounded rabbit. It goes down, and that finally ends this battle in the Pyramid of Decay. The Knights of the Round Table technically won that. They had more surviving figures, and they recovered more treasure. But they did have 6 of their figures fall in combat, so we'll make some survival rolls for Sir Galahad. He is fine. Brave Sir Robin is fine. His minstrel is badly wounded. Sir Lancelot with the magical sword is fine. Their Rabbit of Carbonog is fine, and the Black Beast of Arg is dead. The King and the Apprentice will both attempt to write Scrolls of Strike Dead. King Arthur on a 16, he gets, and Bedivere with a -2, and he fails. King Arthur and Sir Bedivere acted more like knights in that battle, with 3 failed spells that caused damage, giving them 15 experience, only 4 successful spells for 40 experience. They defeated 2 ghouls, which each give 10 experience points. They recovered 3 treasures for 120. They get a bonus of 10 experience points because King Arthur left the battlefield on turn number 9, and they get 40 experience points for participating. So that gave them 245 experience combined with what they already had. They increased 2 levels to increase their health to 19 and 17, and lower the casting number for Animal Companion down to 9 so that Arthur can try to get another Black Beast of Arg in their next battle. For their 3 treasures, there was no central token, so they found this is D20 times 20 gold. That is 80 gold crowns, and this is 40 gold crowns in a magical weapon or armor. That's heavy armor with elemental absorption. Nobody on their team wears heavy armor, so they'll sell that for 300 gold crowns, and this is a magical item. And that is some Boots of Speed, which will give +1 move to whoever's wearing them. By selling that armor and all of the other gold crowns that the Knights of the Round Table had, they went ahead and used 90 to essentially fire and rehire the minstrel, and then they gave him the Boots of Speed they found so he can keep up with Brave Sir Robin. And since they lost the Black Beast of Arg, they have hired a thug, that is Sir Ector. If you've been watching this since the beginning, you may remember that in the first battle, when they brought along the Rabbit of Carbonog and the Black Beast, I had to remove Sir Gawain and Sir Bors, who I said were eaten by the rabbit. So Sir Ector is the 3rd knight that was eaten by the rabbit in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And so he's here until the Black Beast shows back up. And then King Arthur went ahead and spent 300 gold crowns to buy a pair of gloves of strength that he found at the black market. Since he seems to do a lot of attacking, that'll help him deal some extra damage. Velius didn't do too well, having only 2 of his soldiers escape with him. They did manage to pull 2 treasures off the board, but they've got a bunch of survival rolls to make. So starting here with the infantryman, he is dead. The Cyclops Templar is fine. Ranger up top there is fine. The Bat Ranger is badly wounded. The Black Bear is fine. The Polar Bear that Celia finally cast is just barely fine. And Celia is just fine. Despite most of their team falling in combat and only getting those 2 treasures, the team got a lot of experience points. The 2 summoners successfully cast all 8 of their spells for 80. They defeated 3 ghouls, which give 10 experience each. They defeated an armored skeleton for 5. The 2 treasures give them 80. They got 20 bonus experience points for opening that casket in the middle of the board. And Velius gains 50 for leaving the board on the 6th turn. And they gain 40 for participating, so they got 305, which reduces down to 300. And Velius has that Book of Knoll that he got in their last battle. He gets to roll a d20, and on anything but a 1, he gains 10 experience. Otherwise, he is going to temporarily forget one of his spells for a game. And he gets a 2, so just barely gets that. He gains 10 bonus experience, which would go on top of what he already had. I believe that any experience you gain after out of battle does not count towards the 300 maximum, so they do gain an additional 10 points. And since they don't have any grimoires they want to learn from, they've decided just to pass 2 levels and save 320 experience points. They increased their health up to 18 and 16, and they lowered the casting number of Wall down to 10. For their treasures, since Velius successfully cast Reveal a Secret, he gets to roll twice and choose either one of these. This would give him d20 times 20 gold, but this is 40 gold crowns and a grimoire, and they desperately need some grimoires. So we'll see what that is. This will be a cross, and the green will be down. And they found a grimoire of Spell Eater, which isn't going to help them learn new spells, because they already know that one, but they can at least sell it for 200 gold crowns. And then for their other treasure, they find D10 times 10 gold, which is a whopping 10 gold. So not very exciting results for Velius' team. They went ahead and used all the gold crowns they got to heal their wounded ranger, and they hired a man-at-arms to fill the slot of their dead infantryman, and at least Celia didn't end up with another injury in this battle, and they do have a few more gold crowns than they started with. If you're enjoying this content, feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss a video. And you can also comment to let me know your thoughts about my playstyle or about the scenario in general. I'm Alan with Bricks and Blocks Gaming. Thank you for watching and play well.